podcast.
My very good friend Ryan. We've gone back like 20 years. We're in a band together. Geez, yeah, love the guy. What can I say? And Ryan, we met at Capital Factory where I do the podcast and work on the startups. And he's the founder of Elite Sweets.
Very nice to
Uh,
meet you.
Nice to
yeah,
meet you as well, Ryan. Love always bonding and talking to people about UFC, man. My favorite hobby, pastime, whatever you want to call it. That's how I met Aaron. He was walking by during I think it's South by Southwest or there's something during I don't know,
yeah.
it was at Capital Factory. And I saw the Venom jacket and I was like, hold on. I was like, let me stop this guy real quick. I was like, there's only one type of person that wears something like that. And we just stopped and talked for, probably 30 minutes and been friends ever since.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a great icebreaker, and we're
Yeah.
always on the lookout for more MMA enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, Aaron and I, that's it's not the first thing we bonded over, but it's one of our many shared interests,
Oh
and it
yeah.
continues on, right? Uh, I would say like the typical shelf life for an MMA fan is usually around 10 years, and I think Aaron, we've doubled
Oof.
that. So I don't know if that's going to go away anytime soon.
Nah. Nah, I think it's fair to say we're lifers. It's especially because like getting older, like being adults and like knowing what you like and like knowing what you dig and like enjoy and makes you happy.
Are you
Oh,
talking
This
about that
is
phenomenon when everybody starts to crystallize in their trends from like the age of 40 and you start listening to the same music for the rest of your life? Is that
dude,
the same thing?
that's so
I,
funny.
I started that shit at like age 20. Let's be real. You've known me.
Yeah, I think, man, this sport is just growing, and I think truly, it's going to become the biggest sport in the world, MMA, and obviously UFC being the leader. So yeah, I think I'm a lifer too. I took a break for a little bit. I'm not going to lie, 'cause I was watching it when I was in high school, and when I went to college. Long story short, I was working with the University of Texas football team, so a lot of my Saturdays were busy with football since I was working, and so I kind of fell off for a couple of years, and then. One fateful day during COVID, I think it was the Max Holloway Calvin Cater fight on
Oh,
ABC.
that's an
That one,
amazing fight.
I think I don't remember if that was the one that got me back into it, but I just remember during COVID, like I fell back. I was like, man, I remember watching The Ultimate Fighter in high school. Um, man, yeah, and so ever since then, I don't think I've missed a card. Love the sport.
And
I
I
mean,
was
that's quite the reintroduction, right?
Yo, yeah.
You talk about it, yeah. I'm the best fucking boxer. That's my wallpaper on my computer. Actually, we're gonna take a step into Aaron's world. Yeah, here's the wallpaper right there.
I like
That's
that. That's
ex
funny.
exactly it. That moment is crystallized in my mind. Uh, yeah. What did you do for UT football? I don't remember you were telling me about that.
Oh, so I worked on the equipment staff.
Yeah.
So being a student, obviously, my original path in college, I was like, I want to do business, but the business school was hard to get into. At UT is one of those things where it's like, you can apply, but there's no guarantee you'll get in. So I didn't want to risk setting myself back a year. My whole goal when I got to college was to get out as fast as possible. So I combined my love for sports and business together, and I majored in sport management. And I ended up working with the UT football team, and it was a really cool experience as a student. I don't have to get hit like a football player, and I get to travel with the team. I get paid. So it was a really cool gig, got to meet a lot of people. And I think that's what really inspired me a lot, and to start my business, that was part of the inspiration. It's just like, man, these coaches at UT get paid so much money. I mean, like, our head coach is making with bonuses $5 to $10 million, 5 million base, and then up to 10 with a bonus. And it's like I'm walking down the hall with these guys, talking to them every day, and I'm like, what separates me from these guys? Nothing. Just the fact that they know a few more people and that they've been at it for a while. That's what really kind of like inspired me, man. I was like, we're one connection away from making as much money as them, doing all that, and so that's kind of how I got inspired to like really like strive for more and want more and kind of start my business. And just being around the football team, we were always surrounded by like high protein snacks, like the cookies, brownie shakes, and not to plug my company here or anything, but like
Please do.
uh
Free shout
that's
outs. Free shout outs
Free
this
shout outs.
episode.
yeah, it was just like that's where I really saw the opportunity. I was just like, man, there's all these other better for you stuff. Why not a donut? As broke college students with the munchies, we always found ourselves in the local donut shop. Literally just thought like, what if there was like a protein packed donut like that these athletes could eat? That's how we got started, man. But anyways, yeah, I worked with the Texas football team, and that was a life-changing experience for me. So
Yeah.
it was really cool.
You actually answered a question that I thought of while you were talking about that, which was kind of like, how did you take sports management and turn that into elite suites? But you pretty much answered that. It really is combining your passion of sports and solving the problems around business of like, why is that
Yeah.
working for that person? I could
Yeah.
make that happen for me, and that's one thing I appreciate about every friend that I maintain is they're hardworking people who understand that if you put in the effort and you're combining it with what you love in some way, you'll freaking get through it. Like as
Yeah.
long as you're handling what you love, the work's worth it, you know?
Exactly. I think there's like a misconception of overnight successes here in this in the world, but there's no such thing. It just takes time and that's yeah,
Yeah.
that's my little story, I guess.
Yeah. We're about to watch the Lioness this weekend fight at UFC 289 and talk about putting in the work. Like
Yeah.
the girl lost like her two of her first three fights, I believe, and then just went on a tear and didn't lose until Juliana Pena. Like it's all work, and if you find out the thing that makes you special, and you kill it with that,
Hmm.
uh, dang, that's super dope. That's awesome. I like learning more about those kind of stories. So you have the UFC Austin shirt on. So was that uh Emmett,
Emmett and Cater, which is funny
Emmett
because we
and
were talking
Cater?
about Cater. And I was going to actually reference, if you, in my opinion, if you want to talk about a robbery this past weekend, I thought that was a robbery. I thought, it's funny because I think both the last two fights I went to, the main event was a robbery. So I think I think Cater, in my opinion, beat Emmett. I thought the decision went to him. And the previous fight I went to was in Houston, and I was there live. I love Adesanya, but I really thought Whitaker had took it live. But then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, Adesanya might have pointed it out, but live it really looked like Whitaker had won that.
That's not that controversial of an opinion, to be quite
Yeah.
honest. There's a lot of people that were essentially stating the same thing
Hmm.
when the initial decision came out. Um, I like the fact that you're like, yeah, upon rewatch, you know, maybe opinions change. However, we're talking about robberies and what we consider to be probably poor judging, right? Just the fact that the UFC officials don't have access to that type of information or replay that we see while we're watching it,
Yeah.
like begs the question, is there some type of reform that could be going on to give them better access to stats, which again, those can be misleading to a certain extent, but just the ability to re-watch some of those key moments within the round to give
Hmm.
them a better understanding of just really who got the better of certain things, because they have the best seat in the house. Let's not kid ourselves. They
Right.
have the one of the best perspectives, but at the same time, you know, I do think going to a live sporting event versus watching it on TV, pros and cons. Why can't they have both and then make it more objective? Or we've talked about this in the past, Aaron, but adding more judges, right? Instead of three, make it five or make it 10, and you get a better consensus
Yeah.
of who truly won the fight. But again, like that's never going to happen. Really, we need true different type of scoring systems. We're basically just reformatting this off of the boxing 10-point must system. I just
Yeah.
don't think it works as effectively as it should, because there's so much more elements that go into the game as opposed to just using your two fists, right?
Yeah.
But that could be a discussion for another day.
Yeah,
It just boggles me.
I was gonna ask, how do you improve it? I think there's a couple of different options, I think, but I think one of them, you definitely need transparency in scoring. Like, I think it should be live scoring
You
per
like live?
round. So, like,
So that's open scoring, and that's a thing.
You like it?
And I think one championship does open scoring. So the pros are, going into the third round, if it's a 3 round fight, all right, I really need to pull out all the stops here. But also the converse is also true, that if somebody is really far ahead, are they just going to take their foot off the gas pedal and play a lot of defense? I don't know. I mean, I'm open to change. I'm open to adjustments of the rules, because I mean, to a certain extent, Dana White has a point. You don't like the judge's decision, don't leave it in the hands of the judges' scorecards. But also, that's somewhat of a cop out, right? And that's to his advantage as well. He doesn't want fights to go to decisions. He wants, wars. He wants fights that are going to end in finish and spectacularly. So I don't know. There definitely needs to be something to change, because
I thought Adesanya had a great tweet this past weekend. And you
Yeah.
know what? If I'm a judge, I'm running with that idea. I'm starting a YouTube channel and I'm breaking down every single round and how I would score it live, because people like us would go watch the judges take and breakdown of the round and see, and the fighters too. I'm sure the fighters want to know what these referees are thinking when they see, a takedown or position or control or holding someone against the fence, like how they weigh that or the aggression. So if I'm a judge, I think Adesanya gave you guys $1 million idea. Go start a YouTube channel and start breaking it down and independently have your own content, because everyone wants to know, what are you thinking?
And if they're thinking crazy shit too, it just means everyone in the comments is going to yell at them and light
Yeah.
a fire on the channel. So like for the judge, it's a great business move. And frankly, if it exposes them as an asshole or a moron, like, hey, now you got a YouTube channel. You're set. Like you don't have to be
Yeah.
a judge anymore. Now you can just be a commentator like all of us butzes. Like
Yeah,
but
either that or just interview them too after the fights, like they do Dana White, the fighters,
yeah.
sometimes, Mick and all them. Like, I would love to hear what they're thinking. Like, how do you give certain rounds to people that is like they got dominated? I don't get it.
Yeah, we were at the UFC 270 in Anaheim, which was in Ganu and Gon,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
it was also a controversial decision between Moreno and Figueiredo.
Hmm.
Uh,
That's right.
three, I believe. That was when Figueiredo won a controversial split to win the belt back.
Yes, it was a split decision.
And that was one where we actually also had the same thing as you, where we had to watch it back because we were in Anaheim, which is Southern California Moreno territory. Like
Yeah.
that is the crowd was with every move he made. But when you watched it on playback on TV, he got tagged. Like it was a verifiable okay decision that he lost it, even though I would have loved to seen him win.
To be honest, I hear you. I felt like he didn't lose any of the fights personally, but any of the four. But maybe I'm not the best person for this conversation here.
Dude, we're Assassin Baby fans. That's for sure.
Oh, hell yeah. I
Uh,
mean, Figueiredo, I mean, he's an excellent fighter, but I mean, in terms of personality, it's Brandon Moreno all day. I mean, the man gets geeked out about, pop figures. So, I mean, I respect that as somebody who has probably north of 200 pop figures myself.
yeah.
So we're all about nerd assassins, right? I mean, because that's ostensibly what he is.
So we already talked about it a tiny bit, but I think Kai Kara France got totally robbed.
Oh, completely.
So
Completely.
I listen to people that are probably more intelligent on the matter than us, and I'm speaking of other MMA podcasts.
Who do you
So
listen to?
Who do I listen to? I thought, Dom's going to be mad when he listens to this because I'm shouting out Morning Combat. But they
Morning.
they essentially said rounds 4 and 5 were pretty clear cut for Kai Kara France, and rounds 2 and 3 with the overall amount of control for Albazi is like kind of without question. So the round that is up for debate is round 1, and you can make a case for both. Real time scoring, right? That's the thing that we're questioning, is what the judges are looking for and what they're prioritizing. I thought the unified rules are pretty clear in what should be taking priority, which is damage over control. But again, I don't think that's necessarily always the truth in how those rounds are scored. But what's kind of damning, in my opinion, is that one of those judges gave round 4 to Albazi when, I mean, as I was saying before, round 4 and 5 for the general consensus was those were Kai Kara France rounds, and rounds 2 and 3 were Amir's rounds. Um,
Yeah.
so
Look at round 4. 29-7 total strikes, 1 takedown to 0, 27-5 significant strikes for Kai Kara France, and Chris Lee scored that for
yeah, so
Amir.
so so what the fuck is Chris Lee looking at to go? Yeah, that's definitely an Albazi round. Like, it, like, did he take a break? Did he take a bathroom break during the fight? And he's just like, well, he was on a pretty good control streak in 2 and 3. I'm just gonna score this for him. It's
Have
like,
have have judges ever been suspended before?
not that I'm aware
I,
of. I mean, I think I can
I
do
would
a
love
quick.
to see a suspension.
So what happens is that Mike Mazzulli of the Nevada State Athletic Commission came out and was like basically defending his judges, which, I can, to a certain degree, I can relate to that. He's going to defend his
Sure.
people, but they're not even considering what you were talking about in making the judges available after the fight, like a post-fight conference, to talk
Mhm.
about what they saw that led them to the decision for scoring specific rounds for other fighters. So uh, that would be a great step. The YouTube channel, that's a great move in terms of their own potential personal branding, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but we got to get some better oversight when it comes to that. If the way that they're comparing that, do you remember when Andres Galarraga threw that perfect game, but it wasn't a perfect game because uh, the first base umpire called the guy safe when he was out, and it was like on the
When
potential
was
last out of the
this?
game. It was a while ago.
And this
Uh,
is
it was
this
a
is
while ago. It's just
yeah.
something that sticks in my mind because I just happened to be watching that game live. Uh, and you know, throwing a perfect game is quite the achievement. And for it to
Yes.
not be a perfect game in the record books because somebody made a mistake in calling somebody out or calling somebody safe when they were out clearly upon
Yeah.
replay. And then years later, they would implement the replay system and that would have been overturned. But they made that umpire available after the game. And he watched the replay and he said, I made a mistake and I feel terrible because I took away a perfect game from this kid.
Yeah.
Why can't we do the
Mm.
same for
Yeah.
MMA?
I'm talking out loud here, and maybe this doesn't even make sense. I don't know until I get it out, I guess. But
It's perfect for the show.
what if they took, I don't know, like I guess the average or the consensus between the three judges? Like, for example, two judges give round 4 to Cata France, one gives it to Albazi. In that case, they just take, if two of the three say round 4 is his, then
It's his.
round 4 is his, and they do that for like every round. So that way, if all three agree, it's round 1 is so and so, it's so and so. If two of the three think round 2 is so and so, it's whoever. You know what I mean? Or
It
does that
would
make sense?
always be 2 out of 3. Or so I mean it would be best of 3 for each round.
Because it's like in this case, the way it goes now, you know, I don't remember what the judges said, but let's just say three of the five went to Albazi because he gave round 4 to Albazi. Whereas if they go by what all three said for each round, it might have been. I'd have to do the math. I'd have to look at what the
Yeah.
judges did, but I'd be curious if that would change the outcome at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
If
want
two,
to. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. This is well, it would definitely change the outcome because we're talking about uh,
because
Scorecard.
because
it,
you're talking about we're assuming that there's going to be some level of consistency on how they're looking at each round
you would
that
imagine two of the three would always see it the same
always see it
way.
the same way. Correct. And I think that's a great idea, actually. And it kind of goes into the why don't we have more judges so that you can actually get more
Yeah,
of that general consensus? Why limited to just three? Why
yeah.
not have five or seven? To where you're always going to get that clear. Well, I don't want to hedge when I say clear cut decision, but you're
Yeah.
going to get a definitive decision as opposed to something that we're, talking about days later and going like, how does that happen?
hmm Yeah, let's see right here. This is what
Yeah.
I'm curious. Let's see how I would have scored the way I'm saying. I don't know if it makes sense or it's the same thing. I'm just actually kind of curious now. I didn't think about it until right now when I heard you guys speaking. I was like, hmm. Well, if two of
Yeah.
the three saw it one way, then why does
Yeah.
one outweigh the other in this case?
So round one would have gone to Kai. Round two would have gone to Amir. Round three would have gone to Amir. Round four would have gone to Kai. And round five would have gone to Kai. And Kai would have won the fight.
And I think that's fair.
I do too. Like
You
if
know what?
two,
We should
if
keep track of this. For every robbery that we see, we should use our own alternative scorecards and maybe lobby for a change or something. I don't know.
if there's like, because that makes sense to me, and that like we are like we've talked about, we're using the boxing 10-point must system, and if we're gonna use that for the judges to base on which they base their criteria, that does not limit us to how we do the math on tabulating those scores. Like you just said, like if that was the scorecard, the whole score would have been what would have been 48-47 for Kai
Right.
by judges' average decision.
So here's the other alternative, which again, like candidly, this is not my original idea, but when I heard it, I just had this light bulb moment. So the UFC uses the state athletic commissions for their judges. And many of these judges, outside of a few states like California, who has enough people working their athletic commission that are specialized in, like, say, MMA as opposed to boxing, most of these judges in the athletic commissions do both, right? And we're talking about the same scoring system, but it's a different sport.
Mhm,
What if the UFC hired their own judges, like the NFL, like the NHL, like
mhm.
MLB, right? They're company employees that get trained and specialized in MMA scoring, officiating, hypothetically, and they can be held to their own review rating system. There is hypothetically the potential for some shenanigans, right? If the UFC wanted somebody to win, hypothetically, and I'm just being a little bit of a conspiracy theorist here at the
But you
moment, but
But you'd have to if you'd have to say that must be happening in the NFL, and it might because you said
I
they do it.
mean,
So you're
if Dom were
implying
here,
that they
he'd be say
must.
it's definitely happened in the NBA.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
People are in prison for that right now.
Yeah.
So you can't rule it out, but by and large, those are outliers, those are exceptions. Whereas you have people that get graded, and then on these larger fights, let's say on a numbered card or a championship bout, we're only going to be using the highest graded, the highest rated officials to score those bouts so that we have minimal chance of controversy. I
Yeah.
think that's a viable option as well.
I think there's no wrong answers here. I think there's a lot
Let's
of different
go
things.
7 judges. We're going to do averages of all their scores per round, and then UFC is going to hire their own officials.
To your
Let's
point,
go.
like to take it a step further here, I don't know why they don't try things out with like Dana White Contender Series, or I don't know, the Ultimate Fighter. Not that any of those have really made it to the judges, but like use
Yeah.
those as the data, like, use that as a testing ground. Like, not to say those fights don't matter, but like there's a lot less on the line there. Um,
Yeah.
than your reputation of a fight night or a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of opportunities to try to test these methods out and see if it works.
And I
Yeah, I mean,
feel,
hell, they could do Road to the UFC where they're doing
Oh
all the
yeah.
stuff in the expansion.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like they like you were talking about before, it's ripe for that experimentation uh because they're running those as exhibitions. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things too where they could really get in on watching how they're doing that. Um yeah, well that was fun. But Amir, what how does he play with Moreno in this picture? I mean, Moreno's gonna fight Pantoja.
Are we climbing the ladder with Amir Albazi?
I don't think so because he's already what, number three now? Like he climbed it already. Like,
True, true. I
well,
mean, flyweight's a little short
yeah,
on depth, right? They're a little
yeah.
light, a little shallow there. So
So
how does he play out? I mean, first let's say does Brandon Moreno or does Moreno beat Pantoja on Saturday? I
I
mean,
think
obviously I want him to win. Pantoja is one of those guys. He's not really ever fully lived up to his potential, um, which appears to be something that he's on track. He's showing a bit of that. I just Brandon Moreno is not even, or did he just turn 30? Did he just turn 30 and he's got like at least 10
yeah.
years of experience within the UFC?
Yeah, he
And
turned 30 the same year as the UFC because he was
that's
stealing all
right.
of the merchandise for himself.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I mean, like candidly, I want Brandon to win.
Yeah.
Um, I think he will, honestly. I just don't think that Pantoja has enough for Moreno, who can just do everything very well.
Yeah.
But the question is, then like, who does he fight after that? He's already beaten Kai Kara France, and Kai Kara
Yeah.
France just lost to Albazi, although it's controversial. So is Albazi the next one up?
I
Most
think
likely.
they say Royval is weighing in as a backup, which
Hmm.
it's funny hearing Ariel Helwani, him and their rivalry, Ariel Helwani and Dana White is just so funny about all it, but it's true. Dana White, like, love him, love the UFC, but damn, does he play favorites? Is he controversial about quite a few things? You know what I mean? Like, doesn't believe in gimmick fights, but if it's John Jones, the baddest man, Tyson Fury, he's down
Yeah.
for it. If Ngannou is signed with the UFC, he's the baddest man on the planet. Like, his everything changes with him, and um,
Let's be honest.
never, never.
He's a promoter. He's gonna
Oh,
walk
100%.
back. He's gonna walk back anything and everything he says if it makes for a bigger, more exciting fight.
Yep.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they do some cross promotional, maybe find a way to get the PFL involved and do like Ngannou versus Jones, a Jake Paul versus Kevin Holland. I don't fucking know. Some
That
kind
honestly, that's the
Oh,
dream.
that'd be
That's
fun.
the dream. I just don't know if the UFC is ever going to give up their like critically. I mean, critically is
yeah.
not the correct term, but right now they essentially have a monopoly
Oh,
on
100%.
MMA.
Yeah.
Everybody else is fighting for the second spot, and I was reading or listening recently that financially, right, the UFC year over year is their profits are
So
just increasing. Now
Yeah.
there's a the dark underbelly to that where fighter pay is not increasing in terms of percentage of the revenue at all. In fact, it might be going down. And then you have other promotions that are paying their fighters more. But the reality is that those promotions, the PFL included, and Bellator and One, are not actually making money. They're not making a profit. They're generating revenue, but they're not making any profit. And that means what? That the UFC could just wait them out. And then
mhm.
all of those fighters, where do they go? They come back to the UFC if they want to keep fighting. I mean, we just have to determine what time frame that's going to be.
Yeah.
but I would love, I mean, to your point, to have a cross promotion and do
I
like this PFL pay-per-view style tournament. That would be
I think
amazing.
I think Bellator, well, Bellator and one did it. Like,
Yes.
let's
And they
not
will
forget.
continue to do it.
And they're gonna keep doing it, and they're doing champ on champ shit. Like they're
Yes.
doing like the Bellator champ versus the one champ on Amazon Prime. Like, and I love that. So, and that's part of one getting their license in the US and being able to put on that show in Colorado. And then I think they did another one in Florida, maybe. But yes, like that's the cross promotion would be so fun. It just really would.
It would.
Um,
I think so too.
there's even a market here, even in other sports. Not the only one that came to mind immediately was baseball because there is competitive baseball teams around the world. It was like basketball. Nope. And then I was like hockey, and then I was like, wait, Russia exists.
Well, Aaron, you had this idea a long time ago, right? You do like a international MMA league where it's, similar to the Olympics where you're competing for your country. Like
Oh yeah.
that would be amazing. But then it would be, Russian dominated.
Yeah, even in MMA and the Olympics would be cool. And like we joked
I,
about it a few episodes ago when the Olympic panels were debating removing wrestling and how like that's pretty much the first fucking sport that
The
ever
original
existed.
Olympic sport other than
yeah,
running.
It's exactly that. That's the first sport. How fast can you run? Because if it's slower than me, how good can you fight? Like that is how sports started. And
yeah.
I think MMA that'd be really cool to expose it. Um, there were other good fights here, but before we look at some of those, well, actually, let's finish this. We'll finish these fights. Some of them were fun. We won't dig too deep into them, but I want to know about Tough. Are you watching Ultimate Fighter as well, Amir?
Yeah, I'm watching it. Uh-huh.
Heck yeah! So we got to talk about that episode. But
Okay.
first, Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. It's not Caceres.
I mean, we've always called him Caceres.
Okay. I was again morning combat getting all the
Morning
shout outs.
Combat. Yeah, well,
His
Luke Thomas is
wife
a little pretentious because his wife is from Colombia.
and she said it's that way. Okay. Uh man, Alex Caceres, I just love him. What can you say? He goes back 10 years already. He's the shit. I want him to go as far as he goes.
That was a great.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Aaron. I want him to go as far as he goes because I
Uh,
don't think he's going much further. But
nah,
it's fun. He's fun to watch. He's
yeah,
fun to watch.
he's an immortal Matt Brown, you know. Uh
He's a Jim Miller,
he's a
right? Somebody
Jim
who's fun to
Miller.
watch.
Heck yeah. Like I really want him to fight on UFC 300. And dude, totally worth fight of the night because that was back and forth and Pineda another professional, man.
100%.
Uh
But
but
Jim Miller,
speak
man,
Jim
stole the show.
Dude,
I think I almost always bet Jim Miller by knockout because like he only has one way to win.
Yeah, yeah. And he is so and you can't put anybody in front of him who has a clear vulnerability. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that Jesse Butler had like a clear vulnerability outside of his youth in the sport. He didn't have a long training camp. Maybe he had a lot against him, but Jim Miller he had 41 more fights than this kid. Like that, the
Yeah.
minute he saw that opening, it was over. And it was just, you can't fuck with people like that. What is the phrase? If you fuck around, you find out.
fuck
Jesse,
around and find out.
yeah, Jesse
Yeah,
Butler, he found out why he fucked
he
around.
found three left hooks. He found three left hooks, and the last one was as he was falling down.
You
Yes.
should actually make a meme of him and the way Ngannou knocked Stipe out, how they both fell back like that. I'd actually love to see the two of them side by side.
They're
You-
super, super similar. They were right on back on the same leg, the same way. And
Yeah.
Crow Cop, except
yeah, Crow Cops was like, "Oh my god, he died." Crow
Matt,
Cop is dead. He just killed Crow Cop. Um,
Do you want to do we congratulations to Tim Elliott for
I mean,
beating
it's
out the
like,
frustration of the whole wife thing?
congrats on the win, and we're sorry for your loss, you know, like for your wife that's been cheating on you with your training partner. Like, good God, this is MMA days of our lives right here.
Could you imagine if that was Jesse Butler's story instead, and then he just got bollocked by Jim Miller in 30
Oh man.
seconds?
Well, they were saying like his training partner, I guess they fight at different weight classes. Like,
Oh
I'm sure
shit.
Tim Elliott would agree to fight at a catch weight. Like, I don't care. Like I want to fight him. Um,
Yeah.
I would watch it, right? Those are the things. There's been like this semi joking, but it's interesting to think about, right? So the parent company that owns the UFC also owns WWE. So
Yeah.
now they're under one brand, and the hypothetical, what if they switched CEOs, or like head figures? What if Dana White went to the WWE and they brought Vince McMahon over to the UFC to like spice up the storylines? you know
We're
just think
bringing on
about
Tim Elliott's ex-wife's
just think
to
about
fight
all
next
that
week.
juicy drama, right? I mean, the UFC already has the market cornered, but you start putting intrigue on like all the backstories. Or what if they did a reality show like for UFC fighters? This also, candidly, I heard somewhere else, but you have not necessarily the big time stars. I don't think they would do it. They're making enough money, but we know that lower UFC level fighters, they're barely getting by, right?
Yeah.
What they make in terms of fighting, they have to win, because if they get half their purse for showing, they get the other half for a win. They call it a win bonus. It's bullshit. And then they have to get performance of the nights to really like be comfortable until their next fight.
Yeah, like
What if
remember
they
when
got
Cheyenne won and like bawled her
yeah,
eyes out in the back?
yeah, and they gave her that performance of the night bonus. I mean, she was able to she was like living on somebody's couch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if they followed them around? What if they did a reality show
Yeah.
and just followed them around for what they do on their day-to-day lives? And what about UFC fighters, female, male? They typically end up dating each other. There's some storylines there. There's some intrigue.
Yeah. Do
Maybe
the Santos family, Tiago and
oh,
Yana.
Tiago and
Come
Yana.
on. Like
Well, you could do Amanda and Nina.
oh yeah.
Amanda Nina, Tisha Torres, Pennington. There's
Yeah.
Cheyenne and oh, I'm
It-
drawing a blank on his name. What's the guy that just lost to Vittori?
Oh,
Say
the
Roman Dolidze.
Roman
Yep.
Dolidze.
She used to be Buys or
Man,
Yep.
and
Bays.
that's
Yep.
so not fair. I mean, she's definitely on the list of get out of relationship free. Um, on the
Pregnant
list
right
as
now,
we
I
call it.
saw.
Oh, really?
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Okay,
she's
so
pregnant, so she's another one of the women that's on hold, I guess, for a little bit. Um,
damn.
yeah, I'm assuming Roman's baby.
Yeah.
See, that's why they got to be on the show.
Well, no, because it will kick its way out. Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Uh,
why everyone's going independent with their own YouTube channel. That's been a
yeah,
thing in the last year. And I like it too. I like to see everyone tell their own story, like
hmm
Gilbert Burns, Hamza, obviously the style bender or freestyle bender. Everyone has their
yeah,
own channel now, and it's fun to just kind of watch them, or they're all kind of starting their own podcast. But yeah, I mean, I'd watch a reality TV show. Why not?
Well,
hmm
yeah. I mean, it would just be like a much bigger platform
For
similar
sure.
to Embedded. Instead
Yeah.
of 10 minutes, it'd be 30 minutes. And, they could do a
hop
full
around.
season of that. Yeah, they
Yeah,
could hop around for sure.
and you could do like a season, right? And this is my producer mind kicking in, but like you could do a season and really only follow maybe 6 to 8 fighters for the entire season and cut them per episode. So you can like keep it interesting by covering 4 fighters in an episode, hopping back and forth, but pick people strategically that are all in the same card and go through it as they're going through it. Um, but that actually brings me back to something we'll talk about with the Ultimate Fighter, which we'll get to pretty immediately, which is that I'm really appreciating how they are making it more fight focused. And I think that this feels like an old season of the Ultimate Fighter. It really feels like an old season to me. I'm really kind of liking it. Anyway, uh, Karine Silva, Ketlin Souza, fun fight. We always love submissions, especially in the first round. Um, it's too not enough seen of Silva yet to be like up flyweight contention. Like not yet, probably.
I mean,
But
she was a pretty sizable favorite, and everybody was calling
huge.
for an early sub, and that's exactly how it played out. So
Yeah.
I would love to
I
see
think
her
she
take a step up in competition.
I think she's finished every fight that she's fought. So I always like a good finisher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. That's a good call out because in don't kill me, internet, but in women's MMA, there's not always a lot of finishes.
Mhm.
Stating facts here.
Yeah.
No
Well, they
judgments.
keep replaying Irene Aldana's one like stone cold knockout over and over and over again.
Mhm.
I mean, we're blessed with the lioness having fucking five,
Well, yeah, I mean that's why that's
but she's her.
part of the reason why she's such a big figure. Not only is she a dominant champion, but she's finished big names.
Yep. Yep. Holly Holm by head kick, cyborg.
Cyborg,
She kills them all.
Ronda, she killed Ronda.
Yeah, she did. She her career. Uh, we'll skip down just into some of the other fun fights. I mean, Andrei Arlovsky, keep doing what you're doing, I guess.
No, 44, you're done.
He's done. He's
You're
done.
Okay.
done.
Yeah, let's we want him to be able to chew his mashed potatoes in the future and understand his name.
He still plays
Uh,
hockey. He still plays hockey like in a
Really?
an adult like recreational league, which I
Oh.
respect, right? As a person who played hockey growing up. But he should just focus more on just playing it in his over 40 adult league as opposed to having men that are 245 plus pounds punch him in the face.
Yeah, and or 25 years young and hungry for it, as hungry as fuck.
Yeah. 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 I
Um,
mean, guys, what? Not that I don't think Dontel Mays was quite 25, but hypothetically, he could be fighting somebody that's 20 years younger than him.
yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, on the other side of it, it's like for Jim Miller, yeah, he has a lot of fights, but when you're getting out in 30 seconds, like fight as long as you can. You know what I mean?
hmm
Sure.
On the
There's
other
something to
end,
be about like ring damage or damage over time.
mhm,
But I just don't think Jim Miller's had quite the same beatings, right, or wars that Andre Arlovsky has had in the
yeah.
past. As heavyweights. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of danger there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The other one worth touching too here was the biggest favorite on the night, Jamie Malarkey, got knocked out in the second round.
They were swinging.
They were swinging. That's what happens.
Yeah, that was just
Well,
I think that was an undisciplined moment.
yeah, you
Just
fuck
in the
around,
moment,
what happens?
he found he got the right hand found him is what happened. The right hand of Muhammad found Jamie Malarkey's chin, and he crumpled.
That was a
Yes.
hell of a fight.
No, that was another one. And I look forward to watching either of them fight again. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just I love fights where I become a fan of both like immediately.
These
Uh,
Tajik dudes just have cardio and just swing for the fences. What's the guy's name right above him? I forget his name.
yeah, it's Gur
He
damn it.
Amov, this dude or what is Gafarov? This
hmm
guy, I mean, I've never seen somebody throw everything into every single punch. No regard for cardio. My man was trying to end it, and it didn't quite go in his favor. But
Look at that total strikes though.
yeah,
Again, 93. It could
he lost the point. That was a big. I think that killed his
yes.
momentum.
Yes. Oh, that's right. He had the nut shots.
Yeah,
He had the brutal nut shots and the brutal one in the first round. And it was, oh,
Then he got
Oh,
taken down in round 3, and that was it.
yeah. Oh, that made my kidneys hurt thinking about it. Uh, before we take a look at UFC 289, the Ultimate Fighter this weekend, Coach Michael Chandler's fighter, whose name completely just jumped past me, won by TKO,
Yep, first round
Flying knee.
TKO.
flying knee, beautiful flying knee. Oh yeah, and the guy that got knocked out was also Conor McGregor's barber for the episode, if you recall. Um, because that's what you do when your coaches have your team serve you. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
just,
I
but
mean, honestly, like they are struggling a little bit for some of the content. Now, I think uh the Roosevelt Roberts storyline, where he's just not putting up with anybody's bullshit in the house, is
Mhm.
intriguing because he basically said, "You want to? We could fight right now. Like we can just go." Um, Now, obviously, we don't want that to happen because we want them to stay on the show. But the fights have been very one sided. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but in terms of like my perspective on the coaching, like it's completely one sided. Chandler's team is far superior. They're providing like much better technical coaching, where Connor's just like, yeah, you want to, you know, everybody has their own thing, right? His one
You'll
of his
find your
team,
fire. You'll
yeah,
find your
one of
fire.
his team members is like legitimately asking, well, what do you do before a fight to make sure that you're prepared?
Yeah.
He like literally just stumbled over his words. It was like, everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think he got the short end of the stick here in the fact that it was like what I forget what they call it, vets versus what is it, not rookie, what is
Uh,
it,
Prospects.
Prospects.
prospects? Yeah, and I'm like, it's a little bit one-sided in my opinion. I feel like he got the short end of the stick. I mean, some of these guys have real UFC experience versus guys who are, you know, this is the biggest moment of their life, and they're probably starstruck with seeing Conor McGregor and um you know,
Yeah.
not to say anything, not to talk down on McGregor's coaching, but he's a fighter's fighter. You know what I mean? He's in there
Sure.
like what he would do. What would I do in this moment? And find
Hmm.
it, this, that, the other. And it's like, you know,
Yeah. It
and
shows
and we
the
and we
the
know
epi
that the head coaches are not really doing a lot of the coaching. That's
oh,
mainly for the cameras.
that
oh,
is so true. When Roxanne was on the show, she talked about how the coaches were preparing to fight each other. Like they were in camp also. Like it was more like we were all in camp together and we were sharing coaching staff. So like for this, like I love the fighter's fighter comment because like that is so Conor McGregor. Like it's clear that
yeah,
it's the Conor show.
yeah,
And we talked about it last week. He's selling whiskey, he's selling a clothing brand. That's what he's doing. And Chandler is selling his gym and his team. Like that's his business is his fitness and his athleticism.
yeah,
And the only way you can be successful in that business is if you can show the results in the other people. So I think Chandler's really dedicated to getting the result for the other person and empathizing. He's getting in their shoes and approaching the fights from his fighter's perspective and not his own. Like you said, it's his world. This is what I would do. But uh, Connor's gonna win. Some of these prospects are they're fire. It's gonna happen. We've seen it in the commercials. Um, but I liked this guy too, the guy who won, Cody Gibson, and I liked his whole family story and him and his brother getting adopted when they were super young, and then all of the people in the house that are like adopted too. And then, of course, even last week, the dude with the kid who had the really rare disease, and one guy in the house's kid has the same disease. It's like 1 in 250 million. And
yeah.
like we happen to both be fighters too. Like that. I like how it makes the world a little smaller anyway. In victory and in loss. Yeah, also same thing. I feel like McGregor's in it for him. and it's on his prospects to dig deep and find the victories if they're going to win this show. Uh, and how absorbent they are of all the other coaches, because it's still an amazing opportunity.
Let's be
Yeah.
honest. The season is focused on one, viewers, and having Conor McGregor as a coach. I'm sure this is the most watched. I haven't looked at the numbers. I'm sure the most watched season ever, first two episodes ever. And then it's also selfishly for McGregor to get him entrenched in just that fighting spirit of like, besides going home and drinking liquor and going to the yacht, seeing people train, being around that environment, and just getting pissed off being around a guy like Michael Chandler who he knows he has to fight. And that's that. I think that's the main purpose, if we're being honest, but still brings good entertainment value.
Yeah. Do you have any early pick in the Chandler McGregor fight? I mean,
Um, to be honest, I haven't kept up with it enough, like with all the fighters enough, but I like Roberts a lot. I feel like I remember watching the UFC. I think he's more mature and I think he's a lot more advanced than all these guys, but I haven't kept up with enough detail to know their roster well enough.
sure. Dude, how about in the Chandler and McGregor fight?
I'm gonna take McGregor. I think he just has so much more to lose right now. I think it means a lot more. And I think selfishly, Chandler's this is the money fight for his family. And if it's gonna bring him a lot of attention. It's gonna, I'm sure he's gonna get 100,000 new followers if he's the game and brings it to McGregor. But I just think this is a do or die moment for McGregor.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna take McGregor either by KO or a very fun decision.
Oh boy, if that fight goes to decision,
There's no way it goes to decision.
I just think Chandler's very hittable. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
He is. He puts
exactly
himself
what
out
we
there.
said. Mm-hmm.
He's all about making it a very exciting fight, and that's what Conor wants. Conor wants somebody that's going to play the game with him. Like, oh, you
mhm.
want to stand up because he knows in the first round his ability to put a pace on people and his precision in striking is going to put him in a very advantageous position to finish. But if it goes beyond the first round, he's fucked. Pardon
Yeah.
my language, but
Ooh.
um, McGregor is in a deep, deep trouble if he doesn't get a finish early in the fight.
I honestly think, it sounds funny to say, but I think Michael Chandler is going to be a little starstruck at first. I think that the first minutes, my holy shit, this is actually happening. And then I think McGregor's going to rock him with a good shot, and then he's going to be like, "Oh shit, like I'm here." But
That's kind of what happened with Jose.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
this is the biggest fight of Chandler's life from a monetary perspective, attention. Like, if you didn't know who Chandler was, you're gonna know him after this one because McGregor he just has that McGregor effect, and
it's a
Oh
real
yeah,
thing. It's a real
it,
thing.
it's going to be a huge fight. Um, there, I mean, yeah, you're right about Chandler making the largest paycheck since he's been in the UFC. It's a
yeah,
shame he's not going to get pay-per-view points for it, but if he did, then he'd be making some serious bank.
hmm
Uh, it'll be fun. I know that. I know it'll be. They
oh
got to
yeah,
sign the contract first, though. Still not signed.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I mean everything now is still sounding like it'll be probably in November, which I mean
I
will
think it's
be
gonna be December because November, I think they're gonna do John Jones in Madison Square Garden.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be his farewell fight. Stipe is probably going to eventually sign the damn contract. It's going to be John Jones, Stipe. I think John Jones finishes him, retires, goes off to the sunset in New York, his hometown, and Stipe
Yeah.
also retires the same night.
Yeah.
And
I hope it's a war. If they both retire, I hope it's a war.
I question Stipe's motivation, man. I do. He looked very bad in the last fight with Ngannou, and I don't know, man. He hasn't his inactivity makes me think he's not training.
Fair. Yeah, that could be the case.
Because if you're training that long, like you should have that desire to want to compete. But he hasn't tried to compete in years, and I think this is the perfect moment for him to get that last payday against Jones and then just quit.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think we would. I don't think he should be judged for that either. I mean, he's the winningest UFC heavyweight
It'll be a big
champ.
fight.
And John Jones, yeah, if he beats him, he'll put that capper on his record. I beat the winningest heavyweight champ, but
Yeah.
he's not going to be the winningest heavyweight champ. Like if he stops fighting. So like his legacy, I think he'll cut himself a little short if he stops, even though he will. And
For
like,
Jones. I mean,
yeah,
look, everyone already has an opinion about John Jones, one way or the other. But I think the overwhelming opinion is if he's not the greatest of all time, he's one of the greatest of all time. And I think the fact that he was able to move up a division, not technically two division champ, because the other one was vacant, but he came up, he
he won.
dominated who was regarded as one of the best fighters in the division, easy. And then Stipe, one of the greatest of all time. So he defended. There's no reason to fight anymore. Like he's got money, he's got a legacy that can only be tarnished at this point, on in the octagon at least. Um,
Mhm.
I would retire too if I was John Jones. That's a perfect farewell tour in Madison Square Garden.
Heck yeah.
Unless the opportunity presented itself for him to fight like an Ngannou, I wouldn't fight Sergey. There's no appeal behind that other than like the hardcore fans who just want to see John Jones fight someone tough. Sergey's not going to make him any money. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
not a big name. Like it's Ngannou's the big draw. I wouldn't fight Sergey if I was him either. Why risk it? Not to say like he's scared, but like why even risk it?
Yeah. Yeah. And Sergey is a scary motherfucker too. Like
Yeah.
there's there isn't. So and let it get vacated, and then Sergey will be the champion after he beats Cyril Gane.
How fun would that be talking about cross promotional fights? John Jones wins, he retires, vacant belt. You go Sergey versus I don't even know who the fuck you
Probably
do.
like Aspinall will
But
come
all
back
yeah,
and
I'd
they'll
say
shoot him up.
yeah, let's say probably Aspinall. Let's say Sergey wins. I'd love to see a Sergey and Ngannou fight. I mean that's whoever lands first.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that one would be really, really
That would
fun.
be the most fun fight. Like fuck the John Jones or someone. I want to see two big ass guys just go at it.
Yeah. That's like when Ngannou fight Yair Rozenstruik.
Mhm.
When the build up, it's like that fight, even though it was only 30 seconds long, that's what the Derek Lewis fight should have been.
Yeah, that was.
Like is just that's what we want is those fireworks. But
Mhm.
yeah, heck yeah. Well, let's talk about the fights that are coming up this weekend.
And now it's time for the Pretty Neat Podcast picks.
This weekend, my friends, is UFC 289. It is taking place in Vancouver, Canada
Mhm.
on Saturday, June 10th. Uh, I like that fight. I'm excited for it. That's very cool. I mean, I'll jump out and say I got Amanda. Like I think Amanda's gonna take this. I don't think it'll be a problem. She looks great, embedded. She looks great. She looks like she's working hard. I don't think the new kid, if there's another one, is a distraction. We kind of talked about that.
We
Uh,
did.
we did, but I'm totally into the idea of having a fourth Mexican champion as well. And Irene is a violent lady. Um, I'll throw all that out first, but I will say that for me, Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush is the actual main event.
That's the fight. That's the fight. That's the one with the most intrigue. That's got the most
Eh,
potential for uh fight of the night.
lightweight is fun.
Lightweight is fun. Now, it's no longer the best division in MMA. It's the second best, but it's a tight race between bantamweight and lightweight. Um, Dom, who's in Vegas right now, said that the pretty neat parlay has been placed, and
Nice.
if we're going off the parlay, we're pulling for Mr. Olives, Mr. Du Bronx, to get the win. If he does win, it's likely to be by finish. Uh, it's going to be interesting, right? My gut says that Benil wins this fight, even though we're betting on Charles because parlay odds, and he's a betting underdog right now. Um,
He was, yeah.
is in our favor.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think we're going to be surprised, right? If I'm being rational and taking the emotion out of this, I think we're going to be fairly surprised by what Benil is able to do against Charles Oliveira with his level of defense. I just don't think he's going to make a mistake. I just don't think he's going to make the type of mistake that's going to allow Charles to take the back or create some type of like scramble opportunity where he's going to catch him off guard. I don't see that happening. I think that Charles is going to go after him, which is what he does, right?
Yeah.
He's more and more offensive, and we had an amazing streak in the lightweight division. But I don't think you can do that against Benil. He's going to make you pay. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how, but we've seen him be able to neutralize wrestlers, what he did with Mateus Gamrot, and then he's got power in his hands. He's not always the most flashy person, but I think he neutralizes him to a certain extent. If I'm taking the parlay out of the equation, I think he wins. I think he wins by decision, and I think it's the fight of the night for sure.
I completely agree. I think the one thing about Benil is he's a very high IQ fighter, and I think those are the toughest fighters. It's not who's the most skilled. It's, who can make the adjustments, split second decisions in the octagon, who's smart, who's not afraid to who did their homework, who watched the film, and who's not afraid to attack the other guy where he's best. I think, Oliveira had some favorable matchups in, Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler. They didn't want to go to the ground with this guy. I think when you saw someone like Islam
Yeah.
go to the ground with, he wasn't afraid. He wanted to test Oliveira's ground game, and I think Benil is going to be the same way. And I think those are the most dangerous fighters for Charles, is people who's willing to play his game. And one thing that I think we can all agree, and something that's been consistent across the board with Charles, is he's chinny. Once he gets that one shot, all you got to do is jump on top of him like Islam did, and you don't have to. Maybe Benil doesn't get the submission, but you control him on the ground, get that control time. I think he outpoints him in a 3-round fight, and I'm taking Benil on this one.
Yeah. And by
Sure.
decision too. I think that if it goes the distance, you everything you guys said. Like I have nothing to add. So I'm just gonna cheer for you guys, I think. Let's do that. You guys are magic
Magic.
because you read my mind. Um, what do you think about Nunes Aldana though? And I'll throw that to I mean first because Ryan, you got the last one first.
I'm gonna take Aldana, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if Nunes wins, but I'm gonna take the underdog here because I think Juliana Pena showed the chink in her armor, right? I think she showed that she can be beat. And I think she also showed that if Nunes isn't completely focused and really bought in, and this is kind of the twilight of her career, I think. I think she's towards the end. She's ready to go. She's made enough money. She's ready to be a family woman. And, it's great for her. She's done enough in the sport. And when you find that hungry, and I'm gonna say Mexican here, it's hard. It's hard to root against her, and with the odds the way they are, and I'm kind of playing the odds here. I'm taking Aldana because I just think why not? It's gonna juice a parlay. She's a big physical girl. I think she could surprise Nunes, and Nunes really hasn't fought a variety or like a diverse amount of diverse fighters in the last couple of years. It's been Pena, it's been really focused on one person, and I think that can be challenging when you same for Moreno. When you're fighting the same guy over and over, he showed that he could fight with Kata France and all that. But like for Nunes, it's the same person. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Aldana upsets her. And, I just don't see Nunes having too many more fights left in her career. I don't think she wants to cut the weight and go down and defend at another weight class. I think this is kind of where she's comfortable. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many more times she's got it in her to keep defending. And there's just hungry people coming up and about a big physical person. I think she was much bigger than Pena, but Pena had the right game plan to attack, get her on the ground, and wear that cardio. But I think I'm riding with momentum. The Mexican champs are here, and it's a new
Yeah.
era of UFC.
Yeah. I think it definitely might be. There's uh I love jabs. Like I talk about it a lot. And like Amanda got caught by Juliana's jabs in the first fight and it shocked her and but like you said, she wasn't all the way in it
Yeah.
and she kind of guessed and got tired and went down and tapped out. But Amanda totally reversed that in the second fight. And I mean, Juliana was being put to the ground by strong jabs. I'm pretty sure Aldana has the reach in this fight. She will have better kickboxing as well. Oh, she doesn't. Wow, Amanda has the reach by half an inch. I knew Aldana was taller. Um, I agree about that hunger. The that uh that Mexican drive that it's just there's a power behind it. Like, and she has trained with Alexa Grasso from
Mhm.
the beginning. And
Yeah.
Alexa Grasso said, Aldana has it. Like, Aldana knows the mentality. She's going to go in there and go to work and get it done.
Yeah.
And that could totally happen for all the reasons that you said. Um, yeah. Uh,
And I'm a
Crazy.
big believer about who you surround yourself with, especially in the fight game, because I think that really determines mentality. And like you just said, Aldana trains with Grasso, who's a champion. They're hungry in that gym, and they want another champion. And not to talk down on anyone, but Nunes, her wife, and
Nina.
she's not a winning fighter, at least of recent. And I think that can impact your mindset when you get complacent with like support, like being around someone who's always losing, like that rubs off. If that's the people you're training with, and not say like they're training. I know obviously she's training with other people, but those kind of things rub off on you, man. And I think that's another thing for Oliveira. He's coming off a loss too, and it's tough, man. Especially when you got that next person up who's hungry and wants it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Some other it's gonna be a fun main event. It's gonna be a fun main event. It's gonna be a great co-main event. This is like uh the main card is at what time is the main card? It's at 9. It's at 9 p.m. Central here. So that's not that's pretty typical. Usually the East Coast cards sometimes are a little earlier, and I like those. Um, we've discussed very regularly that some of the overseas cards are our favorite because you get to have donuts and fights at the same time.
Donuts
Uh,
and violence.
Appropriate audience and appropriate guest. I didn't even put that together. That
I
hey,
heard
I mean,
donuts.
donuts and violence. What could be better?
hey, Elite Sweets, let us know
Hey.
if you want us to come help write some campaigns. We're available. Just get at us. We've
Just
offered the
got
UFC our marketing expertise
taglines
multiple
just coming
times.
out
Yeah.
nonstop.
Uh, yeah, get in the ring. And by that I mean a donut ring. I love Mike Mallet and Adam Fuggett as we like who's a name champion on this show because of
Name
how fun
champs.
it is to say. Um
But you have to say Mike Malott, who's from Canada with a
oh
Boston
that's
accent. It's Mike
yeah, that's
Malott.
Mike Mallet.
Malott. Malott.
Uh Another he made kind of a splash in his debut. I don't remember the guy he beat. Nunes, but I just remember he had a nice comeback in that fight and it was very entertaining. Another rookie that trades pretty well on the card trade as well. He's been one that's picking up pretty much. Uh, Come on, 50K eBay, 50K eBay.
Yeah, let's
That's
go
like
50K
the
eBay. That's your dream.
yeah, 50K eBay, 50K eBay is my nickname. Uh, but no, Dan Ige is fighting Nate Landwehr.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised at the odds because obviously the train, Mr. Landwehr, he's going to be a tough, and they're going to go head to head on
Yeah,
this
they
fight
are.
because that's
I
how
took
Ige
him.
fights.
You
I
took
personally,
Landwehr?
I took him. Nate the Train. He's finishing people. He's has some momentum, and
Yeah,
uh, Ige hasn't been that impressive of late.
there you go.
That's
Same.
my. I'm taking him as an underdog with those kind of odds. I don't him and Aldana like I don't see why not.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like your style because I think easily Nate could finish this fight. Now, do I think the fight gets finished either way? Yes, but I think it can, I definitely think it can go either way just based on their styles.
Yeah. Speaking of the middleweight bout right before it, in my mind, is the same thing because Marc-Andre Barriault and Eric Anders are both violent as fuck. The thing about this fight that I like is Marc-Andre Barriault is a little bit more patient than Eric Anders. Uh, Eric Anders had an injury. I I don't remember if it was between the last fight or if it was before the last fight. So I'm not gonna dive into that. And I really don't have a pick on this one. I like Eric Anders a lot, but especially anybody who beats a Dawkins, because geez, I just hate those guys so much
Yeah.
for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, I mean they're the older one was a fucking cop, in Philadelphia. Um,
Oh, no
when it's
wonder I hate him. I fucking hate cops.
Jesus, when it's close, always go with the hometown people. So you got to go with the Canadian, right?
Yep.
Coming out singing "Oh Canada."
That's
Yeah.
how I feel about him a lot. I was watching a little something on him earlier, and I don't know if you guys know about the Nelk Boys, but apparently the Nelk Boys are like sponsoring him, and he has a lot of support in Canada. So I was like,
Huh.
fuck, he's motivated. I was like, he's like, when I win, we're gonna have the biggest party of my life, and I'm like, he knows, he already knows it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you gotta that is a factor. Now, it doesn't necessarily play into a lot of the things that we see when we're making these projections, but
Right.
he's gonna get a boost from the crowd for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think this is
Uh,
the fight of the night.
Dude,
this
this is gonna
one,
be a great fight.
Yeah.
Nasruddin Imavov and Chris Action Man Curtis.
Yeah. If Nasruddin's smart, he'll try and take Chris Curtis down. But even though he has a background in wrestling, like he's French, but he's originally from Russia, um, it's it's going to be a stand-up banger. And
Did
I
he?
think we were talking about judges earlier, right? So this happens in boxing too, but the judges don't really appreciate body work specifically from the hands. And one of the things that Chris Curtis does the best is throw a left hook to the fucking liver.
Yeah.
He just doesn't get the credit for it. He does such great body work. Um, and I would just hate for him to get robbed, which I felt he did in
I
his
thought he
last
beat
fight.
Gaslam. I agree. I
I
had
thought he beat
Curtis in that
Gaslam.
fight. I have Curtis in this fight. I think he beat Gaslam too.
It was a good fight. Like we like Gaslam here. We love him for what he did against Izzy. That was
Yeah.
a great all timer fight. I just, my personal opinion,
I
I
didn't
thought he
realize
won that.
I didn't realize Chris Curtis had beat Rodolfo Vieira as well. Who
A lot of
Fluffy
good
beat?
wins.
Yeah, shit. Yeah. Oh, and Brandon Allen, Philip Hot. Okay, yeah, yeah. Chris Curtis. And when we
He went on a bit of a run, right? And then the Jack Hermanson one, Jack Hermanson like basically shut him down.
He took that on
Uh,
short notice.
yeah,
mm-hmm.
that's right. That's right. He did take
And
that on short notice.
that's Jack Hermanson, like when Jack Hermanson was Jack Hermanson. And
Well, not
people were
even
calling
that,
him
but
the
like
Hammer still.
he made it a boring fight by just playing to his strengths. And I remember that the crowd was booing at the end of that fight, and Chris was obviously very upset at the end of that as well because he just really wasn't engaging. But again, you're a professional. You have to be able to adapt in the middle of a fight and change your strategy as well. And,
Yeah.
that's part of the reason
Curtis,
probably why he didn't get into the UFC until he was in his early to mid 30s.
I think Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland are two of the most fun middleweights. Guys are gamers, short notice fights. They'll fight anyone. They don't give a shit. Like we might as well put Hamza Chimaev against one of those two.
You know what's funny about that is that they train together.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
and they have a podcast together now too.
And if I'm not mistaken, Chris Curtis is 100% takedown defense. So I think that's going to play a huge factor. I think he gets it. I have him as underdog as well in this one. Imavov's coming off against a loss against Strickland. Strickland, I'm sure, has plenty of pointers for
For
Curtis.
Curtis.
And I
Yep.
think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Sean Strickland took that on short notice or Imavov, one of them. I just remember
Yeah.
a lot of time between with the opponent.
I think that was
Yeah.
Sean Strickland
It
because
was.
he was coming off a loss and
Yeah,
then
against
he
Amir,
took that
right?
fight. Correct.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
still got the decision. So I think Curtis and Strickland are just about even in my mind, except I don't know, man. They both have great takedown defense. I think Curtis hits a little harder. I'm taking Curtis in this one.
I
Nice.
like it. I like it.
The fight before that, I think might be a Canadian loss
I think so too.
for the people of Canada. I love Miranda Maverick.
She has the
Um,
worst nickname in the fight game.
what is her nickname?
Fear the Miranda, Fear the Maverick.
That's
It's
funny.
Okay.
absolutely horrible.
Yeah. No thanks. Um.
She's getting her doctorate, I believe.
Yeah.
So she's fighting and getting her doctorate simultaneously.
Yeah. If she's not Dr. Maverick already,
Yeah.
jeez. Uh. And then I'm excited about Ayman Sahabi, who is his
Is that
brother is
Faraz?
Faraz Sahabi's brother.
Wow.
And Faraz worked with GSP up at TriStar for the last like 15 years, right? And Zahabi was this is like the younger brother who really, really wants to be as good as the rest of everybody in his family. Um, and he really needed that knockout that he got in his last fight because before that it was a lot of injuries and breaks and stuff like that. Uh, Tactician, man. I this and Oraculang, who I know I'm saying that wrong.
Man, great pronunciation. You just nailed it.
I did. Did I? I don't.
I legitimately have no idea.
I think they combined his name. I think I'm looking up. It's Keelong Aori or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So they
Like,
like
long.
combined it all, I believe.
Okay.
It's
Huh.
almost like what like how Sumerdarji,
Yeah.
he just goes by the one name. They just put it all together.
Yes. So like this fight, to me, this is two tacticians. To me, this is the fight IQ fighters fight, like the fans fight, because these guys are going to set things up, deploy, and it will be very mind centric. That could make it boring to a lot of people, because I do think these guys will dance around each other a lot. They're
I
gonna.
mean, let's be honest. Like these are the prelims. They're not even the early prelims. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. And this
I
is a
think a
numbered card.
decision is a safe bet for that one.
Yes. Diana is on the list.
Romanian. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we'll go out on Saturday. Diana. Diana
The
Belbita,
Warrior
come on the
Princess.
podcast.
Damn.
You
Okay, so she's taking her nickname from Xena.
like it?
I like it. She has that looks like a Simba tattoo on her right forearm. Go back to that. Look at that tattoo, right forearm that looks like Simba.
I think it looks like, oh, geez. I think it looks like Tigger.
Scars.
It's definitely not Tigger.
Oh, you're right. That is Simba. That is adult Simba.
That it's like
That with like
Simba
6'9"
with
hair.
green hair. Yeah, some
Yeah,
Takashi 6'9" hair.
Takashi 6'9". This is
Simba
Raver
6'9".
Simba.
It's Simba six
Maybe
nine
her
for
two
sure.
inspirations combined.
Dude, we just named the episode
Simba 6'9".
Simba 6'9". And I'm gonna totally Photoshop like somebody. Oh, who should I Photoshop to look like Takashi for tomorrow's Instagram post for this episode?
Definitely Dom.
Dom? You think I should do our co-host Dom? He would
Definitely
be so mad.
Dom with some Takashi braids
Okay,
photoshopped. I mean, he's got the perfect template for it because he's got a shaved head, so
you're right.
that works.
Yeah, and he's already all sleeved up, so like I
Yeah,
won't have to
he's
do
good.
anything on the
He's good.
tattoos.
You could put some face tattoos on him too.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Hold on. I have to write it down. Uh, nice. I was telling this is. Well, I'll leave this in the show. Even I was telling Ryan and them last week. I mean, something I love about our show is that it's 75% male and 25% female, which is, and I'm so happy about that because like that's not like a regular level for these podcasts. It's usually a lot more male.
Yeah.
But I think because we're also bitchy husbands who don't bitch about our relationships and wives because we're all happily married, we bitch about daily bullshit life, work and jobs, and we all have full time and careers and family and bills and getting old and stuff. Um, and we talk about like going to Disneyland, like with the kids, and like, and then of course the weekends in Vegas where we bet on our fights. So I think that Simba 6'9" is like at a perfect level of title for this episode.
That would be a great question for someone to ask her, the inspiration behind that tattoo. I'd love to
Mm-hmm.
someone could ask her, pre-fight or in press conference type of deal. That was a great eye to catch that. I didn't even could barely see that.
We need an episode. We're in a rock and a hard place right now as the Pretty Neat Podcast because there are now 4 months of fights every Saturday, which
Saw
is
that. That's great
awesome.
news. Yeah.
But it also means we don't have down weeks where we can do bullshit stuff like make a ranking of MMA tattoos. And but we still will. I want to bring back the Super Duper Handicapper, actually,
Damn.
which was a game, I mean, we played very early in the show where, per se, I mean, we're going to put you in the octagon against John Jones for 1 round.
Mhm.
But he's on roller skates. How long would you last? Or could you
Um,
beat him?
I cannot beat him. My goal would be to last longer than Cyril gone.
Ooh. Okay.
I
No,
think you
that,
could.
that
Do
was
you
what that
think
was like
on
3 minutes though, right?
do you think on roller skates you could last the entire round?
No.
No.
I couldn't. He'd get
How does he get you? We
Uh
do we learn that John
tackles
Jones is
me
a
and then he holds me down.
we learned that John Jones is an amazing roller skater and he just corners you. He cuts off the octagon and takes you
Is
down
he
and
is
submits
he
you.
allowed to kick with the roller skates? So that's the important question.
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah,
yes,
that might be an advantage.
yeah. That's true. We did one that was like really fun. That was like I forget who it was, but it was like Cyril Gone or something. If he was in a straight jacket, that was
My goal would be a minute 30.
A minute 30. Okay.
If I can go a minute 30 with John Jones, I'd take that as a moral victory. I do a lot of dancing and running, and I would try and maybe throw a leg kick or something to trip him.
Playing with fire there.
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
so
yeah.
scary. I'd go in for like I'd like dive at his legs and he would just get me with one hammer fist on like the back of the thigh and I would die. Like,
Aaron taps to strikes.
dude, he would hit me in the meatiest, least sensitive part of my body and I would tap.
Tapping to strikes.
Dude, straight up I would.
I mean, you could try to pull a Matt Hamill, right, and try and get a win by DQ.
That's so true. Yeah, John, I'm just gonna stay right down here directly below you. Throw that
Yep.
12-6, no
12 to
problem.
6. 12 to 6, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk around on 3 points the whole fight. It'll be the most. It'll look like a Ryan Hall fight, except way
No,
less
no
entertaining.
Imanari rolls.
No Minari rolls. Um, Gentlemen, this was a really, really fun episode. I thoroughly enjoyed recording with both of you. Thank you, Amin, for spending some extra time. I know we went a little bit over on our schedule, and you are a very busy schedule, very busy man. I'm sure you are missing an important call right now. Um, but
Appreciate you
yeah,
guys having me. It's been fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
this has been great. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Yeah, we will certainly have you on again, either as another guest spot, like this for a full episode. We'd also love to just have you on to make picks at some point. Like if we just have one of those nights, come on for half an hour just for the PNP picks. Um, and of course, if anything's going on with the Elite Donut, which everyone should go to elitedonut.com and check out the Elite Donut. Maple, I am told, is to die for, and I will be doing a full review on this show at some point. So anything going on with that? Is there anything going on with that you want to put it out here? Well,
Well, last Friday, so almost a week ago now, was National Donut Day, so that's always fun. I think, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure we're the only food that gets two holidays a year. There's actually two National Donut Days because one's just not enough for us. So those are always fun because those are big days for us. And who doesn't like to celebrate eating donuts? Donuts are definitely coming your way, Ryan. I'll need to get you a package as well, and we'll get Dom one as well too. We'll get the
heck
whole
yeah.
squad some donuts. Love the idea about a review. I think I think that'll be great. But yeah, just check us out at elitedonut.com, like you said, on Amazon. We're the #1 selling donut, so check us out there as well. And
Yeah.
if you're gonna eat a donut, you might as well eat one that's better for you.
Hell
Yeah. And with that, we'll sign off with Donuts 2024.
Yeah, you know why I love MMA so much? It's pretty neat. That is 100% true, but it's also because it brings us together. You know what? Violence really does bring people together.